Hi, everyone. We're back with Mods for Quads and Adam Lavender and myself, Susan Leedy. Today, we are interviewing Gavin Clouser, and he's in Reno, and he's another High Fives athlete. And Gavin, I'm just going to ask you some questions about yourself.
Okay.
You are how old again?
I just turned 23.
And we just wished you a happy birthday. And I wanted you to kind of tell us about you, and maybe we can even start from where your injury level is and how it happened.
Okay, so my injury level is 3, 4, 5, incomplete. I stretched and bruised my spinal cord at the age of 14 racing motocross. And my level, like I can push my own wheelchair. I can do a lot of things on my own. But yeah, I don't know how much more detail you want to go in right now, but that's kind of like the basic overview, I guess, of my injury.
So are we talking C or T?
Yeah, sorry, C3 to C5, incomplete, stretched and bruised spinal cord. Yes.
So tell us about that day. Like, how did it happen? What do you remember?
So yeah, it was basically a normal practice day. I've raced since I was 4 years old, and basically, I rode at least 3 to 4 times a week my entire life. So it was just a normal day. Get up, went to the track. I rode like one practice and I felt really good that day. And then the second practice out, I was coming down one of the straightaways and it was a little rough. And on a dirt bike, you kind of want to keep your front end higher through the rough stuff so it's not so doesn't beat you up and move your bike around as much. And it was just a freak little accident. I hit this bump weirdly and it put me on a wheelie kind of, and I hit this it was like a 15-foot jump and it ended up like doing a backflip on me. The bike did, and I ended up landing on my head, which like crushed my neck forward. And then I slid like 30 to 40 feet. And then, yeah, I remember waking up on my side and like I had my hand by my head and it was just really weird because like it's weird. I don't know if everybody feels like this, but after my injury, I didn't know anybody in a wheelchair. I never really talked, like I never, growing up, never talked about paralysis or what the repercussions of paralysis were. But the second I woke up, I had already known that like I was paralyzed. Like it was just the weirdest feeling. Like I knew what it was because I couldn't feel anything from the neck down. Everything was just tingling. My whole body was like completely, like it just felt needles everywhere on fire. And then yeah, they asked me questions and I didn't remember what they're like. They said, "Hey, do you remember me from earlier?" I asked you those questions. I had no idea who those people were. So it's kind of like the first time getting knocked out too. So that was a weird experience. But then they moved me to the ambulance, and uh, so my stepdad was the one that was involved in my racing career, and he was there with me. And my mom was actually in California at the time, and so uh, my dad called my mom while we were in the ambulance, and she's like, he didn't want to tell her that what had happened because he didn't want to figure out. And so I told her like I just can't feel nothing, and so obviously she was set in a panic. But then they put me in a helicopter. They flew me to Renown, which is like the main hospital here, and then after that, I was placed into an MRI machine. And what's weird about it is like ever since this injury, I didn't look at it as even when it first happened. I knew that I broke my neck, but I never looked at it as like this was a permanent thing. When I was in the MRI, the only thing I was thinking about was the next time when I'm on my dirt bike, I was like thinking about what kind of gear I was going to get, and just dumb thoughts, hindsight. But yeah, so and then yeah, just the process started after the MRI of I was put in Halo, which was one of the worst things that I ever did because it was just so painful and it really caused a lot of issues that I still have because of it. But then, so yeah, that was basically the day. That's pretty much a brief, kind of overview of it, I guess.
It's interesting that you say that because of pretty much, I think almost every person we've interviewed, Adam, like there's like this instinct knowledge right away that you know what just happened. And then there's also your brain naturally goes to this place where it's like wanting to grasp onto your previous life already, movement and getting back to what you already were doing. It's like the brain going, no, 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 no. This is the way we are supposed to go. We're supposed to ride bikes.
Definitely.
Wow, that's intense, and especially at such a young age. So when
And
you
then so like after this, they put the halo on me, and it's like I remember after the MRI, I don't remember getting the halo put on me at first. And then I wake up and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I have my real dad up front. He's watching TV, and then I have my stepdad next to me, next to my bed, and I just, yeah, I woke up and there's just this weird like sadness from both of them that I've never felt. And it was just so, but then I wasn't even that down, which is so weird. Like through this whole thing, I can't say that I've ever been through too many times where I've just been like long stretches of time where I've just felt like I'm done, I can't do this, or was super sad about it. I don't know. It was just weird. Like you said, my mindset immediately was like, I want to get back to where I was going, because at that time, I'd raced for 10 years and I'd been working towards sponsorships and deals and all this stuff that I wanted. And it was the year before, November of that year, I had re-signed with my team, and I was the first motocross kid to be sponsored by Walmart, Monster Energy, and a bunch of other companies. And so it was like all that hard work and dreams are kind of paying off. So immediately after, it was kind of like I need to get back to that. So, and that kept me positive actually. So even though it was like kind of a delusional mindset, I guess, to have, it kept me positive.
That's amazing. You must have been a pretty badass motocross biker.
Tried.
Um, well, we had those questions that we sent you, so I'm just going to kind of keep going on down the list.
Okay.
So here you are, you're not feeling, this kind of seems to be a common theme too, is really intense athletes that have been injured this way kind of have that, oh, it's time to get back up and, keep going. So during this period, like, was there a time or in your recovery where you felt like what was your biggest challenge that you had to face in recognizing your new life in your recovery?
The biggest challenge for me at first was the fact of not getting the proper therapy, because, you know, racing is a very physically demanding sport and you have to go to the gym. And before I got hurt, I was working with personal trainers and working, like you have to be really strict with the way you treat your body and all that kind of stuff. So that discipline was kind of carried over after my injury, to where it was like, well, I know what I need to do. I know the only thing that's going to get me back to normal is moving and exercising. And at first, I understood that the doctor's like, no, 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 you just need to rest for a little bit. And that was for the first month. Then they sent me to a hospital in Sacramento, which was, we were told when we left Reno that it was going to be this great therapy hospital, and it's the best care you can get. And, you're going to get therapy 3 hours a day and whatnot. So we go there, and I'm super excited because the whole time, the only thing that I want to do is, sorry.
Are
The only,
siblings that are screaming in the background? Or
huh?
these your kids or your siblings?
Siblings, it's kind of crazy right now. So, sorry about that. But so anyways, like I had that mindset of just work, 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 work. And then when I get to this hospital, the occupational therapy for the day was literally getting out of bed, sitting in my chair, and then that was what they said, like you just need to get ready for the day. So then you wait around for about an hour and a half for physical therapy. And the physical therapy was just, to me, it was a joke, like I could lift this time. I was getting function back in my arms very slowly. I couldn't really lift much weight, but I was like, they were telling me, no, just lift this quarter pound. I'm like, well, I could do more than that. And they just wouldn't let me progress the way that I wanted to. It was just it was so safe. Like, let's just do the little bit and whatnot. And And I couldn't handle it because the very first day I got to this hospital, they told me you're going to be in a power wheelchair for the rest of your life. You're never going to be able to feed yourself. Like, you need to prepare your life to be like this. And my mom, thank God, she was like, no, you're not gonna tell him that ever again. So I never really heard that. But like after that, I mean, but the whole time I was like, no, you're not gonna just tell me what's gonna happen, because one of the things about being in Reno is they told me that my spinal cord was bruised and stretched, and it's just like a normal bruise. Once the bruise goes away, everything comes back. This is what one of the doctors told me. So I'm just sitting there going, well, any day the bruising is going to go away and I'm going to be right back to normal. So I don't know what you're talking about. So the whole time, I didn't really have that mindset of this is how my life's going to be. It was always like, no, there's going to be something better and it's just going to be progression. But I was ultimately just so frustrated with the lack of therapy and the lack of work that they were allowing me to do. It was horrible.
Have you been able to find since then other avenues that have helped you progress further to the point where you want?
Well, I mean, not to the point that I want, because it's just like, just where we live, there's really not a lot of options, especially when I was first injured, because a lot of places wouldn't see me because I was a kid. And, there's a lot of rules about 18 and over, 16 and over. So a lot of places kind of brush you off. But the place in Utah, NeuroWorks, I'm sure you guys have heard of that. NeuroWorks was just, if I would have lived in Utah at that time, I really believe that my recovery would be 10 times more than it is now, just because it was amazing. I was there for 2 months, and that 2 months I gained probably the fastest throughout my whole injury. And that was like a year into my injury. And I went there for 2 months and I got so much stronger, so much more movement, and just, I felt so much better, and then we just, financially, it was just too much on the family to keep going there, which is totally understandable. It's not a cheap place to be, but it's the most amazing place. And then now, I work out at least 5 days a week, and I do my best to do like the adapted CrossFit, and I do anything I can to move, and just anything that I feel like could possibly get me to the next level, I'm gonna do.
I saw you crushing it on the skier.
Yeah. I did. So for my 8-year anniversary, I did 80 minutes on the skier, just because it was like I wanted to kind of remember the 8 years of suffering that I went through, to realize that, because the recovery process is really slow. It's not like an overnight thing. And it's very discouraging to some people. But when you can look back and go like, yo, 2 years ago, I barely could move, or not 2 years ago, but like 6 years ago, I could barely move. And then 2 years later, started going to the gym again. And then to where I am now, it's just a night and day difference. The amount of strength that I have and all that, it's crazy.
I think that's so awesome that you're on that path and that you're gonna just keep making progress. Like we repair. It might take a long time, and there's no rhyme or reason behind how each person repairs faster or not. But that's exactly what we're trying to get across. Is more. There's so many fantastic organizations like High Fives and all these opportunities that y'all have to get involved with adaptive sports. We want to really offer a resource where you can go and understand, like, how can your body improve? What are the tools that are available? What's out there? Because a lot of people don't even know.
Yeah, and that's what I love, because when we first got hurt, my whole everybody, it's a complete shock throughout the whole family. You don't know, especially as a parent, you want the best for your kid and you want to give them every opportunity for the best. But when when you feel like there's nothing out there, you feel completely hopeless. And I remember being that kid and being like, I don't know where this goes, but just gotta keep going.
Um, are there any other ways that you've found to maximize your recovery? Like, tell us a little bit about the adaptive sports that you're involved with High Fives.
So with High Fives, I really haven't been able to go do like any of the snow sports with them yet, or anything like that, because I'm actually really new to High Fives. I haven't really been involved with them too long, but they've helped with, I did rugby with them, and rugby was cool. A little too intense for me sometimes, And then, you know, I really love the CrossFit just because CrossFit has just the only thing that helps me when I feel like stressed or like anxiety coming on is working out. It's the only thing that gets those demons kind of away. And so I found that to be like my number one place to go to unleash everything, you know.
Awesome. So what do you do now with school and your career, or what you're aspiring to do or be? How's
Yeah.
that?
So I'm going to school right now I was going for business, but I don't want to do all the math. I just can't do it. So I switched over to graphic design and like web design just because I have always had I've always loved learning about it and whatnot. So I'm doing that and I'll be done in December here with those 2 degrees. But then I think I want to go to Utah and go to BYU for a little bit and just finish up there. So
And be on campus and
maybe not on campus, but I don't know. We'll see.
that sounds like a great goal. What about future goals with recovery? Like, are you just aspiring to take it to the limit, I imagine, but is there any other new types of, I don't know, scientifically proven things out there that you're looking forward to getting involved with?
I don't know about scientifically proven, but I've heard a lot about like Neuralink, and I've heard a lot about there's places in Thailand that are injecting things in your spinal cord. And I looked into that a little bit, but I haven't really been too much because I've had a lot of friends that get the stem cells and they're like, oh, nothing changed. And so I don't know. I do think that eventually there's going to be some sort of a cure, but naturally, I think like if I'm just continuing, like let's say there's no technological breakthroughs, which I doubt there won't be, but I'm just gonna have to continue working out. And I don't think anymore, like I don't look at it as like I have to walk one day. Like I want to walk one day, obviously, and I'm still working towards that. But it's just like without the lack of resources, it's hard to think that you're just gonna get up and walk one day. Because if I was at, you know, Neural Works every day, then that would be there. But it's like now my goal is to just be the best version of myself that I can and to like function. You know, I'm always getting better and going to the gym and doing everything I can, but without the resources, with the resources that I have now, I just have to keep using them to the best that I can. And I don't know how far that's going to get me in my recovery, but you got to do what you got to do. Life is life, and you can't kind of uproot everything yet. So
Yeah, I love
when
your,
when I go to Utah, maybe in college, I'll be at Neuroworks, you know?
yeah. Is that one of the reasons why you're picking Utah?
Yeah, partly. Just the amount of the recovery there is just ridiculous. It's so good.
Adam, do you have any advice for Gavin on some of the equipment that's helped you more than others that maybe he might have access to?
I do, and I wonder what he may or may not have access to. My first thought as a high fives athlete, based on what he was saying, was I want to get him out here to go skiing. But I use the Galileo tilt table and the Galileo dumbbell a lot. And like I put pounds of muscle on my legs on the tilt table. And you know that there's no E-stim, that's just biofeedback. And like I snapped my femur one year, and 10 weeks later I was skiing, you know, and it was all because of the tilt table and the Galileo dumbbell for my upper body. I'm a little ways behind you because I'm a power chair user. My right shoulder is like quite a bit behind my left shoulder. Like if I had two of my left arm, I'd be pushing myself around no problem. But I've got one arm that just isn't up for it, and so you know I don't have the range. Anyway, I got a lot of my upper body muscles back, you know, like 3 and 4 years out by using the dumbbell, because it fires like all the proprioceptive muscles along the chain. Like if you're holding a dumbbell, if like you're holding a regular dumbbell, you're just using the muscles that are working against gravity. But if you have the vibrating dumbbell, it's moving and oscillating in every direction. So it's stimulating all kinds of, peripheral muscles to the group that you're using. So it'll actually make muscles work and gain muscle fiber that might be totally paralyzed when you're not using the dumbbell, And so anyway, those are the two things.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, man. And we can follow up later, and I can give you a lot more detail on that stuff.
Okay.
Adam, how much are those? Like, how much is a dumbbell set and how much is a tilt table?
A dumbbell is just under 5,000, which in that case, I think is worth every single penny. And especially with how well Gavin does on the ski erg, I can tell he would stand to gain a ton from that. And that's something you might be able to get some grant help with. I was able to at one point. And then the tilt table, I have not been able to get for myself. I'm lucky enough that there's a local program that allows me to use it twice a week at, they only charge us $500 a year to be a part of the program. So it's just super fortunate to be a part of that. But the tilt table is, it's between 20 and 25,000 for the tilt table. You can get a plate that's is on the floor for quite a bit less, but that's for people that are standing up,
Yeah,
But-
I had one of the ones that was like $200. One of the little vibrating ones that go on the floor, but
yeah.
obviously I can't stand. So
Well, and this one also, it's unique among all vibrating plates in that it oscillates back and forth between the right and the left side. So it's moving your pelvis back and forth, which like actuates the serpentine spine in your lumbar, and on a micro scale, it simulates the natural gait that you use when you're walking. So it's priming a lot of those same muscles. But anyway, I don't want to take up too much time to explain all that, but that's a really, really, really awesome thing to get access to. And, I wonder if there wouldn't even be enough people in your area to like co-op one of those somehow, because I know there's so many SCI people in your area, athletes even, right? But I don't want to take up too much of Gavin's time, but the only other thing that I did a lot of, and that's how I met Susan here, is during doing neurofunctional training, neuroplasticity training in conjunction with being in the water, and the water taking 90% of gravity away. And 6 years out, I started walking in the water and ambulating with my legs back and forth, left and right steps in the water. And I can't produce any wiggling or any muscle fasciculations in my legs at all in my chair, but I can walk in the water. And so there's so many things that you can kind of discover underwater that gravity is just way too much of a burden to discover otherwise. And it would take
that was one of my favorite things with NeuroWorks.
Right. Okay.
You were able to get in a hotter pool there and do that?
Yeah, their pool was great. And yeah, they did all the different types of therapy, and it was perfect. Like, I'm telling you, the water I think was a big, big help for me, because that's one of the things I did every day for that 2 months while I was there. And man, huge transformation in me.
So, Reno, can't you have a pool in your backyard, or like somehow have access to water?
Yeah, we have a pool we had one the last 2 summers, but the one it's so tall, it's like hard to get in because it's an above ground pool and I don't have an in-ground pool. But I did that every day over the summer, that in the last 2 summers, but it is hard to get in, like, just because my mom's not the tallest, but it's like 5 foot. It's like a 5'7" tall, pool, so it's hard to get in.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, we want to hopefully, I don't know, kind of establish a big camaraderie between resources and places and events and things on our website, so that, there's a number of nonprofits that are offering grants for certain things. Maybe we can, put our heads together and collaborate somehow on how to get equipment places and things like that. I mean, we'd love to have you involved, and I'd love to ask you if, you know, you would even be willing to be a mentor on our website for other people that are kind of in your shoes.
Definitely, I'd pay it forward for sure. That's because it's a rough boat to be in, but a little bit of guidance is always good.
Well, I am impressed with how organized your closet is.
I have OCD, so it's nothing that's organized like that.
Nearly like that. But okay, well, Adam, do you have anything else you want to ask Gavin, or Gavin, you have anything else you want to ask us?
I don't think I have anything yet. I'm trying to think of like anything important to say in this because I know that people are going to watch it. It's going to be a big help. But I guess not a question, but I'll just say like if anybody is watching this and they're, newly paralyzed or going through something like this, it's just stay positive and yeah, ignore the doctors because the doctors told me that I would never be able to feed myself. They told me that I'd never be able to write or they told me all these things and I didn't let it, come to my head because I just think that they always say that you don't get return after the first year, which to me is crazy because all of my return has been, 4 or 5 years in, not all of it, but the big jumps that I've had have been later on in the recovery process. So it hasn't been right after. So it's like, yeah, the doctors go to school, but they don't always know exactly. Everybody's body is different as well. Like, and every injury is different. So it's not, you can't listen to everything that is said.
Yeah, I mean,
Only taking the positive.
we have the theory that one of the reasons, you know, this is all going to be changing, but one of the reasons the doctors do go based off the statistics that they know is to also make sure they're not becoming liable for promising something that they can't promise. But so I feel like it's our job to embrace everybody and say, hey, no, like, let's see where you can go. Let's empower you to take it to the limit.
Definitely.
That's what we're all about. And I would love to reach out to you again offline to have you become a member on our site and just kind of, get your advice, especially because you're in this industry. I could really use some advice there on the user experience. So.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you, Gavin. It's so nice to meet you. And hopefully we can get back to Colorado here after this crazy pandemic and get you on some sit skis and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm down for that for sure.
Yeah, and Gavin, let's catch up away from here at some point and find some ways to maximize your recovery.
All right, I'm down for it.
Hey, I got your email now, so call us anytime.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a nice day.